You know that thing when you see a particular piece of gear and the first thought that comes to mind is what genius decided that this pile of crap is what the world needs? Yeah, this is that list. So I'm scrolling the interwebs here the other day and I run across a particular pedal that is on this list. We'll talk about it here later. And the first thought that came to my mind is, why is this here? Other than a cash grab. Why is this being put in front of me for any other purpose? And it got me to thinking that there's quite a few pieces of gear out there in our industry that also fit this description. And we're going to talk about it here today. So without further ado, let's get to it. Number 1, Randall Nuno Bettencourt signature amp. Okay, now I have no issues whatsoever with signature gear. And I really don't even have any issues with signature gear that really isn't even used by the artist. It's tough out there. I get it. Big name artists especially, they got to do whatever they can do, to make a few extra bucks in order to continue supplementing their career. And as such, there's a lot of artists out there that have their name on particular pieces of gear that they don't actually use. No problem with that whatsoever. However, if you're gonna do that, don't you think that if it's at least gonna have your name on it, it should, sound good? Because if you've ever heard this shitbox of an amp, it's really got to make you wonder how one of arguably the greatest guitar players on the planet today would possibly sign off on this thing. So, Nuno, I'm sorry. I'm a fan. I love you. That guitar solo on that new single that you released here just a month or two ago is phenomenal, by the way. But this was a giant miss. Number 2, the addario circuit breaker instrument cables. These are those weird little guitar cables that have the switch on the end of it. That's basically a built-in mute switch. Why is this here? I've been seeing these things for 15 or 20 years. I've never bought one. I've never owned one. I've never used one. I've never sold one to a customer, and I've never known anybody to have ever used one. Of all the places in the signal chain that one might be able to mute a guitar signal for whatever purposes, and there are plenty of those, who thought the cable would be the first place somebody would want to reach for? Number 3, Hagerman Effects. Okay, now I'm going to preface this by saying I love Hagerman Effects. I think they're a great company. And they've actually sponsored a couple of videos here on this channel, and I really do like their pedals. But the way they name them doesn't make any sense at all. The distortion is an overdrive, the flanger I think is a phaser, the heavy metal distortion I think is a fuzz pedal, and on and on and on. I mean, that's kind of like his signature, is to name shit that doesn't do exactly what it says it's supposed to do. Number 4, MXR EVH 5150 chorus. When was Eddie Van Halen ever known for using a chorus? Like, ever. Number 5, Gibson Les Paul studio monitors. Welcome to the stupidest fucking entry on this list. If you're not familiar with these, I think these came out in 2015 or something, so it's not like it's a current product on the market. But, I mean, Gibson owns KRK. I mean, let's face it, these things are, I assume anyway, are a pair of good old-fashioned KRK monitors with a sunburst paint job finish on them. And of course, Gibson in the King Henry era named them the Les Paul studio monitors. Oh, King Henry, you got to file that one right up there with this guy. I mean, that's how good of an idea this was. Dumbasses. Oh man, I am so glad that Gibson has decided to get away from this lifestyle brand bullshit and just go back to being a guitar company. Wow. Number 6, the Line 6 Pod HD Pro X. The reason why this one doesn't make any sense is because the entire Line 6 Pod HD series has all been discontinued. Remember that, you know, the Pod HD500, you know, and the 500X eventually. Remember those were their their big time flagship effects processors. Well, those were long since been discontinued ever since Line 6 came out with the Helix series, which is a huge, ginormous size upgrade from the HD Pod series. So the HD Pod series is long gone, except for the Pro X, which is the rack mount version. Which makes zero sense to me whatsoever, because these things are obsolete to the point now that they're selling far less than what dealer cost is on a brand new one. I work for a Line 6 dealer. I could buy one at cost if I wanted to. There's no way I'd be able to, because I can buy one used for probably $100, you know, more than $100 cheaper than what dealer cost is on it. Line 6, get rid of this thing. Nobody needs it anymore. Number 7.
A cabinet, there's not even any shelves to put anything in.
Number 8, the orange Brent Hinds Terror. This is another one that's already been discontinued. This one didn't last very long. Brent Hinds, I'm sure, uses the full-size rocker verbs and you know, the high-end expensive orange amps, you know, and I'm sure this thing came out specifically as a, you know, again, as a means for an artist to make some money. Again, no issues with that whatsoever. But if you watch this promotional video that Orange put out featuring Brent Hinds, I mean, I'll post a link down in the description so you can see it, but you know, is it just me? Or does he not really seem like he knows a whole fuck of a lot about his own signature amp? Orange, come on. Get some input from your artist whose name you're slapping on the outside of this thing. Maybe it would still be in production had you done that. Number 9. When has Slash ever used an Octave pedal? Or a fuzz pedal? Or an Octave fuzz pedal? Like, ever. Seriously, I've never heard anybody say they're looking for a fuzz pedal because they want it to sound like Slash's fuzz tone. Like, ever. Number 10, the Mogami Overdrive cable. You know what? I really, really hate gimmicky bullshit pieces of gear that are just simply designed to get in the pockets of guitar players out there. That's all that this shit is. And nobody seems to be more guilty of it than the cable manufacturers. Now, let me preface this by saying I love Mogami cables. They're my favorite cable company. I think they make phenomenal cables of all kinds. I've got a set of Mogami instrument cables that I have had for 15 years, and I've never had one problem with it. Never. They're built extremely, extremely well. I've never had one fail. Now, let me read you part of the description of this particular cable. It says, Mogami Overdrive cable, while being more rugged, reveals even more presence, dynamics, and upper frequency definition. For tone purists who make the most of the stage, this is your cable. You know, when you want more treble and, you know, and more presence and upper end frequencies and overdrive, of all the places in a guitar player signal chain where you could possibly make those adjustments, who the fuck thought the cable was where they would want to do that? Even if it does add those things, at the end of the day, when it comes to cables, it's copper wire. Yes, I'm aware that some copper alloys are more pure than others, you know, etc., etc., etc. You know, still, the difference in signal that is being passed from point A to point B in an instrument cable is nominal at best. When you start paying more money for higher-end cables, you are paying for build quality, nothing more. Anything else that we're told is absolutely a gimmick, including overdrive cables. So there you go. I hope you have enjoyed listening to me rant and enjoyed watching this video. What pieces of gear out there have you seen that just don't make any damn sense whatsoever? Drop them down in the comment section. I would love to read it. Maybe we can do a part 2 of this video or something, because this shit's out there everywhere. Adios.